See you soon.
Oh. Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining
Hi.
today. Jess is joining from Sendai. Is that right, Jess?
Yes, from very cold Sendai up here in Tohoku.
Oh, is it cold already? It's been warm during the day, but cool at night and the morning in Hiroshima. But you must already be near snow there, are you?
Yeah, the mountain's already looking pretty white, so yeah, give it another few weeks, I think. But
Wow. Well, I'm so excited to have you on because I'm a big fan of your TED Talk. You did such a wonderful job talking about Tohoku and branding and sustainable tourism. And we have so many of your beautiful photos to show today. You're working with a great company there in
yeah.
Tohoku. But before we talk about all that, can you
Mhm.
just give us a little bio about yourself? Like, how did you end up in Japan?
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from Canberra in Australia, in case you can't tell from my somewhat confused accent. And yeah, I spent a lot of time in Australia kind of studying Japanese and originally came here as an exchange student in Kanazawa about 10 years ago now. And fell in love with the place. And yeah, that kind of encouraged me to join the JET program, which I think a lot of expats kind of join when they first head to Japan. So that sent me to beautiful Fukushima prefecture for about 3 years as an English teacher. And yeah, it was just an amazing experience. And it kind of really showed me there's a lot that's still unknown about not only Fukushima prefecture but the Tohoku region. So that encouraged me to get into tourism, which is what I'm doing now in Sendai City. So,
Yeah,
in a
wonderful.
nutshell.
Yeah, in a nutshell, it's hard to summarize so much experience in so many years in a short time.
Mm.
Thank you. In your
That's all right.
TED talk, you also talk about being placed in Fukushima and how you felt
Yes.
and the overcome of what you
Mhm.
found online and what you experienced in person once you went there. Can you give us a short version of that?
Yeah, sure. So I arrived in Fukushima in 2013. So it was about 2 years ish after the 2011 disaster. So when I first kind of got my placement, as you do, you kind of immediately Google online to see, where you're going to be and what it's going to be like. And I was placed in a very small town called Machi, which is located kind of close to the nuclear reactor. So unfortunately, all of the pictures and the news that kind of came up were all fairly sort of dominated by the disaster. So I was a little bit apprehensive about coming, but when I did arrive, it was just such a beautiful place, beautiful people, beautiful nature, beautiful everything, and just that kind of gap, I think, between the Fukushima that a lot of people at home knew about, and the Fukushima that I kind of discovered upon arrival was kind of so great that I was inspired to kind of show the real Fukushima, I guess, and tell people a little bit more about what life's like on the ground in Tohoku.
Yeah. And you were talking about how once you started researching before you came,
Mm-hmm.
you realized that only such a small percentage of Fukushima, which is actually a
Yeah.
very large prefecture, only a small
Yes. Yeah.
percentage is affected by
Mm-hmm.
radiation and the disaster.
Mm. Yeah,
And
well, I think
yeah,
the whole prefecture as a whole has been kind of affected by the negative stigma, I guess, attached to the disaster. But in terms of the immediate kind of nuclear disaster side of it, it's only, I think, less than 3% now of the prefecture which is kind of immediately affected, and for the most part, Fukushima as a whole is a very, very much livable, wonderful place to travel and experience. So yeah, it's a shame really that the name of the plant was Fukushima. I think that's kind of where a lot of things kind of went wrong. But yeah, hopefully we can show people a little bit more about what the real Fukushima is like.
Well, you're doing a great job to help with that by showing alternate perspectives and helping with the branding, not only for Fukushima but for the
Mm-hmm.
whole Tohoku area. I was really
Yeah,
surprised by this,
definitely.
and I'm sure I've heard it before, but in your talk you were
Hmm.
talking about only less than 1% of all travelers actually stay in Tohoku.
Yes. Yeah, so that was, I think, a couple of years ago now. So I think we've moved up to, I think, just under 2% now. So we're getting there. But yeah, I think I think it was like 32 million international travelers that arrived in Japan at some point last year. Yeah, it was, I think, 1.8% or something actually chose to stay in the Tohoku region. So it's very, very much an undiscovered area in terms of international tourism for sure.
Yeah. And you were also
Just
talking about how for the Tohoku area, there's actually very few people holding passports. And the idea
yeah,
of being an ambassador for where you're from. Can you talk about that a little bit?
yeah, sure. So yeah, I think not only is it really important for us, I think in Tohoku here to kind of spread the word overseas. I think it would be great if we could encourage a few more Tohoku people themselves to actually travel overseas and kind of spread the word about their own region and create more opportunities for them to kind of exchange with people overseas. But yeah, unfortunately, in terms of passports, I think yeah we're the worst area in Japan for people actually holding passports. I think a lot of that probably has to do with kind of the older population in a lot of the rural areas. But yeah, it would be great if we can encourage a few more young people to kind of yeah be inspired to travel overseas as well.
But you also were
Sure.
talking about the international residents,
Hmm.
that there's over 50,000
Yeah.
international residents
Hmm.
in Tohoku. And of course, if you can embrace them as kind of local ambassadors who can bridge between where
Yes.
they live in Japan and their country or English speakers abroad,
Hmm.
then that's also kind of an untapped resource. And that's something
Yeah, for
I
sure.
touch on a lot when I do consulting with businesses or destinations looking
Hmm.
to invite more tourists, especially now because there is no inbound, right? It's a perfect time to embrace the international residents
Yes,
who live in
definitely.
your area,
It
right?
is.
Who actually like where they live. So that's a great point.
Hmm. Yeah, I think definitely, just from my own experience on Jet as well, like a lot of people kind of live in these really small communities, but they build up this great local knowledge. And yeah, they kind of have the ability to kind of see things from both a local perspective in many ways and also from kind of an international perspective to it. So it's a really, yeah, unique position, I think, to help with a lot of this sort of tourism branding and encouraging more people to the area. So I think it's definitely an untapped resource that would be great to get a few more international residents involved. And I think even just as a starting point, we've been putting a lot of energy in the past couple of years into promoting Tohoku overseas, but I think one thing that's really come out of this period with COVID and obviously international people not being able to come into the country, we've been kind of trying to get the word out to international residents in other parts of Japan to kind of come to the Tohoku region. And I think they're the kind of people that are, when they have family and friends coming to Japan, that's kind of the first point of call for people to ask for, advice about where should I go, what should I do. So unless the, international residents aren't, ambassadors for Tohoku, it's kind of hard to take the next step to, targeting tourists directly. So I think they're, yeah, a very important resource. So yes,
Yeah,
we'll be trying to
definitely.
encourage a few more to come up.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always tricky. Like my husband and I have been running a local website for many years, Get Hiroshima,
Mhm.
and we always try to introduce really cool, great things to do and great places to
Yeah.
see and great places to eat. And sometimes, and I'm sure you have encountered this too, sometimes you'll meet other locals who don't want you to promote it because they want to keep it secret.
Oh, to themselves, that's true. It is kind of a conflicting, yeah, conflicting feeling sometimes. You're like, oh, this place is amazing. I don't want anyone else to know. But yeah, because a bit of a balance would be nice.
Yeah. But definitely in
For
terms
sure.
of sustainable tourism, we want to find
Hmm.
ways to keep the quality of life for local people, right? So local
Yeah,
residents, whether
definitely.
you're Japanese or international, you should be able to enjoy your local amazing features, right? And have a balance
Yes.
with how many inbound people are able to take over these places. So we have to
Right.
think a little bit more outside the box,
Hmm.
more innovative maybe about
Yes, for sure.
special times when only locals can come, or limiting tour bus access to certain places, or like how do we find a balance between visitors and locals?
Right.
This is something I'm always thinking about for sustainable tourism.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also just kind of creating like tour experiences that actually kind of benefit the locals as well. So not just kind of, bringing 1,000 people on a bus to, a beautiful scenic spot to take a picture and leave their rubbish and leave kind of thing, but actually, having smaller groups, better quality experiences where they can actually, interact directly with the locals, experience some of the local culture, and kind of, leave a positive impact on the local community as well. I think that's really important.
Yeah, definitely. Let's introduce your area a little bit, because I think there might be
Sure.
viewers and listeners who haven't been to Tohoku.
Yes.
So
Okay.
let's start. Let's dive in. So at first, you have
Right.
some maps. Here's a Sendai
Yeah.
Matsushima map.
Okay. So this is just kind of showing the sort of focus point, I guess, for our company activities. So we're in outbound Sendai Matsushima. So we kind of look after the tourism management of mostly the coastal part of Miyagi Prefecture. So I think on the map there, it's the area in kind of a pinky brown color.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where we base our activities, but we also kind of run tour operations across all of the Tohoku region as well.
Okay. And the other one is the Tohoku Map. So kind of in Japan, where is Tohoku showing right now?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Tohoku is kind of the sixth northernmost prefectures of the main island of Japan. And yeah, it's kind of a bit of a grey area for a lot of people, I think. They kind of, skip over Tohoku often, kind of from from Tokyo to Hokkaido. And yeah, it's kind of a bit of an unknown area, but it's actually quite accessible from Tokyo as well. People kind of think it's quite an isolated area, but it's only, I think, from Sendai to Tokyo a 90-minute ride on the Shinkansen, so it's not too far at all.
Yeah, it was actually really easy to get there from Tokyo. I
Mm,
was impressed. All the Shinkansen train
yes.
lines go right from Tokyo, so it's very
Yep.
straightforward and quite easy.
Hmm.
In your talk as well, you were talking about branding for the entire area. I thought that was really interesting
Yeah.
because talking about funding, usually funding is prefecture to
Mhm.
prefecture. They have to be like rivals
Right.
competing against each other, but actually
Kind of,
it
yeah.
it works better if everybody works as a region, right? I love that idea.
Right, right. Yeah. Probably a bit of an idealistic approach, but yeah, I think that's just kind of one of the takeaways after, working with quite a few sort of public funded projects over the years. It's a little bit frustrating when everything has to kind of be kept to, you know, municipalities of, towns and cities and prefectures when in reality for tourists that doesn't really mean a lot. Like people don't kind of come specifically to, a city. They kind of come to, seeking some particular experience, or they want to kind of experience the area as a whole. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense, I think, to kind of stay inside these boxes. It would be better to have a bit more communication between different areas and kind of creating more opportunities, and I guess making the tourism a little bit more accessible for international tourists. And yeah, I think as well, like particularly working with a lot of the local governments and things like that, it's you spend a lot of time building up these really great relationships with people, and then unfortunately they have to kind of move around to different sections within the local government, and it's kind of back to square one. So it can be a little bit frustrating, but
But
yeah,
on that
it's getting
same
better though, I
point,
think.
because
Hmm.
everybody moves around, if you had more of a Japan branding approach, or at
Right.
least Tohoku branding approach, moving
Hmm.
people around wouldn't be a problem,
Would
because
be a good thing, right? Exactly. Yeah.
everybody's a team player, and then you can
Yes.
share knowledge easily and support each other. I mean, that's something I always suggest, and people are always like, "No, we're not going to do that." Is you gotta support other people doing similar things. Like we're
Exactly. Yep.
rival and competition in
Hmm.
tourism, especially now after COVID, just
Hmm.
doesn't work. You know, it's not
Exactly.
effective.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah, not
turnoff
really
to
at
the
all. So
visitor, I
that's,
think.
hmm I think so. And that's, I think, kind of with our company. So even though we're focused really on the Sendai Matsushima area is kind of our neighborhood, we kind of, for our tourism platform, we're called Tohoku Local Secrets. So we try and kind of showcase other areas of Tohoku as well, because we understand that it's, yeah, maybe not enough for tourists just to kind of, yeah, come directly to one particular area. So
Yeah. Well, let's look at some of the beautiful photos. Before that, you were doing a Gogo Tohoku campaign. Do you want to introduce that?
yes, yeah. Sure. So that was sort of directly after my jet experience. So when I kind of first got interested in tourism, I was lucky enough to meet a person from Sendai TV who had just started a new tourism promotion project called Gogo Tohoku, which is um, basically kind of creating a group of international residents here in Tohoku and giving them the opportunity to travel around the region and promote, but from an international perspective. So there was kind of a real acknowledgement that, what, from a Japanese perspective might seem like a fairly kind of mundane, everyday experience is actually something really fresh and unique from an international perspective. So they really wanted to focus on showcasing the area through the eyes of these international residents. And yeah, through that experience, I kind of got the chance to travel around with the students a lot and really, yeah, I guess develop a lot of knowledge about what's around in the Tohoku region. But at the same time, it was kind of a bit eye-opening. You kind of spend a lot of time sort of promoting all of this information and creating all of this great content, but you get the feedback from people that are seeing it at the other end saying, that's wonderful, but like, how do I actually get there? And like, can I experience the same thing that you guys are experiencing? And a lot of the time, the kind of the best experiences were quite inaccessible for tourists to kind of do on their own. So that kind of, yeah, encouraged me to seek a different way that we can actually work together to create these kind of tour experiences and make it a little bit more accessible for tourists as well.
That's great.
Which, yeah.
It's so important to get the user's view, right? Because all of
Yes.
these ideas sound so great, seem so wonderful as you're planning them
Right.
as a local. And when you try it
Mhm.
out, there's so many things that come up which could never have been expected, right?
Right. Exactly. Yep. Got to do a lot of test and trialing first, but yeah, a lot of fun discoveries along the way as well. So
Yeah. I was just showing a picture of your Tohoku like collage together. So many
okay.
beautiful photos of your teaching and all of your experiences. Is that all of Fukushima?
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Fukushima
all in
scenes.
Fukushima. So yep.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, for me, I think coming from Australia, the nature was just so kind of different to what I was used to. So that was something that really, yeah, made me fall in love with the prefecture. So I think there's a few photos of beautiful Bandai-san there as well.
Yeah, and is it shooting arrows on horseback race or something?
Yeah, I think that's probably a scene from the Soma no Moe festival, which is on the coastal side of Fukushima. Every summer they have this amazing kind of parade of different families from different samurai clans around the area that kind of converge on Minami Soma, and they do sort of traditional horseback racing and archery, and yeah, it's a very exciting festival, but
Yeah,
definitely
fantastic.
worth it. I think it's actually the second oldest festival in Japan as well, so it's a pretty
Yeah,
awesome experience.
looks amazing. And then the nighttime festivals, of course, as we go post coronavirus travel, we're going to be looking for more outdoor experiences, outdoor
Yeah.
adventures. And it seems like Tohoku is perfect. There's a lot on offer.
Yes. Yeah, I think yeah, for Tohoku and other sort of more rural areas of Japan, it's kind of a real chance, I think, to encourage more people away from kind of the crowded cities to kind of get back in touch with nature and some of these more outdoor experiences for sure.
So next, let's talk about the Fukushima Bandai Asahi area.
Mhm.
Your
Yeah,
gorgeous
sure. So I
photos.
think
Autumn looks
I'm a little
amazing.
bit. Yeah, autumn's beautiful. This is an experience that we had just a couple of weeks ago. So particularly after the whole COVID situation, we've been trying to kind of develop more of this outdoor content. So we visited the beautiful Bandai Asahi National Park. And I think you've probably got a couple of photos there from the Numajiri Onsen area, which is this incredible, now outdoor natural onsen. You can actually take a hike with a what's called a yumori, who is kind of a guardian of the onsen, I guess. So the workers that actually have to make this massive trek into the mountains every week to the source of the onsen, and to kind of release the buildup of all of the minerals and stuff, so it flows down into the onsen towns, which is something that I did not know even existed. But yeah, they kind of take you through the mountains to this beautiful onsen source, and you can stick your feet in, or if you're extra keen, you can jump right in.
It looks
But it kind of gives you a
amazing.
real reappreciation of what onsen is. We're kind of used to just turning up at a fancy ryokan and enjoying a bath, but it's it's kind of an
And there's
eye-opening experience to see
a
the source of
gorgeous,
it.
yeah, gorgeous. And there's amazing views including like a crater with a pool in the bottom
Yeah,
and then a crater with a dip. Amazing.
yes, yeah. So that's Mount Azimakov. So it's actually only about a 20-30 minute ride up the mountain from Fukushima city. So it's beautiful. You can go up there. You can actually do a walk around the entire perimeter of the crater and have some beautiful views over Fukushima city. So yeah,
And there is
highly.
some bonsai experience, maybe?
Yes, yeah. So we have Abe-san, who's actually a third generation bonsai master. But he and his father and grandfather before him have kind of developed a new style of bonsai called Kukan Yubi. And it's actually based on the kind of unique natural scenery that you can find up in Jodo-daira, which is that area with the crater that you just mentioned. So they kind of modeled their bonsai on the trees that they kind of find up in the mountains. So it's a really awesome experience to kind of, go and see the nature for yourself first, and then, see how it's recreated in the bonsai form with Abe-san. So
Oh, I love that. It's
a nice
gorgeous.
connection between sort of nature and Japanese culture.
Yeah, absolutely. So beautiful, big views of the landscape as well
Mm,
as
yes,
traditional cultural experiences, connecting with
yes,
nature.
exactly.
Yeah,
Hmm.
beautiful. And these are the kind of tours people can book through you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. So we work with a lot of the sort of local DMOs and agencies on the ground in other areas of Tohoku. So we can always put you in the right direction, or look after you ourselves.
Nice. Let's go to Miyagi Naruko Onsen
Yeah.
area, the
Mhm.
lacquerware I'm showing.
Yes. Yeah, so this is another wonderful artisan. So Sato-san, he's a traditional urushi lacquerware artisan, but he's kind of, I guess, kind of adapting a traditional craft to more modern times. So one of his latest initiatives is actually running eco straw workshops. So he makes kind of bamboo straws that he lacquers, and you can come and decorate your own beautiful eco straw to take with you on your journey as you continue around the Tohoku region. So a little bit of a different, sustainable, I guess, experience that you can
I
have
love
here in
that.
Tohoku.
That's
Mm,
that's one thing I see kind of hanging on in Japan is the plastic straws. And I didn't see any
yeah.
local makers of reusable straws. So that's a nice
Oh
experience.
wow. So
Mm.
come up to Narako Onsen.
Yeah, I love that
Yeah, it's a
area.
beautiful area though.
Hmm.
It's also part of I'm not sure if you know much about Matsuo Basho. He was a Edo period haiku poet that kind of traveled through the Tohoku region. He's wrote this wonderful book called the Narrow Road to the Deep North, and you can actually follow his footsteps and actually travel the same path that he took, which kind of goes through a lot of the Narako Onsen area. So that's kind of a popular experience a lot with a lot of people that enjoy sort of walking tours. A lot of tourists that have kind of already done sort of the Kumano-Kodo area down in Wakayama Prefecture often come up to walk along the Matsuo Basho route. So
yeah,
so
and
another.
we also just discovered last week Friday that Basho may have been a ninja. He may have been a spy.
Oh yes, I know. So that's a bit of a rumor, but I'd believe it.
Yeah, very interesting. That
Yes.
was great in the ninja talk last week to discover about
Oh really? Oh awesome.
Basho might have been a ninja as well. Very exciting.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I
And
like to think of
the
him as the kind of the first travel blogger, I think, in Tohoku.
yeah,
He's
yeah, exactly.
documenting his experience through poetry, but yeah.
Yeah. And you can see his poems as you walk around his route, of
Yes.
course, on
Hmm.
stones or maps in the area. And I'm showing the pictures of the onsen now. The
Hmm.
onsens are so nice. And some of the
Yeah.
ryokan have outdoor onsens and kind of you can book a time and have it privately.
Yeah,
I really like that.
exactly. So I think the photo that you've probably got up there is Onuma Ryokan, one of our favorites in Narako Onsen, and yeah, they have that particular bath. You can rent out for an hour or so. They take you on a little bus out to the middle of a forest, and you can sit and enjoy some forest bathing and literal bathing at the same time. So yeah, it's beautiful. Some of the best, I think, yeah, quality spring water for sure in Tohoku. So
Yeah, that's a
I,
lovely area. I really enjoyed being there.
yeah,
Yeah, I was there last year. I
oh
could
no,
do, how many onsen baths can you do a day? It's not just once a day for me. Like I can go 4 times, 5 times a
any.
day if I'm in an onsen area.
Yeah, I would stay there all day if I could, I think. But yeah, I think the golden rule is at least three if you're staying overnight at an onsen. So yeah,
Oh, at least, right?
easily done,
Yeah.
easily done.
Easy, easy, easy. And you just feel so relaxed all the time because you're in and out of the hot bath.
Yes.
I love that.
Yep. Some good
All
food in
right.
between, some sake.
Yeah,
Yep. It's perfect.
definitely. Let's talk about the Michinoku Coastal Trail.
Yes, so this is another one for the walkers out there. And this has been recognized, I think, by National Geographic and Lonely Planet, I think, last year as one of the new sort of highlights of northern Japan. And it's this incredible walking trail. It's about 1,000 kilometers long, stretching from Hachinohe in Aomori all the way down to Soma in Fukushima. So it's a pretty epic trail. But obviously, not everyone walks the entire thing. You can kind of choose little sections to do along the way, and yeah, just experience some of the gorgeous scenery along the Sanriku coastline, and spend some time walking through these beautiful little communities on the coast and sort of experiencing the local lifestyle. And of course, it covers a lot of the area that was affected by the 2011 disaster as well. So it's kind of a really great experience to kind of see the progress of recovery yourself and kind of make more connections and support the local communities as they kind of continue to recover as well. So yeah, it's a really great walk. I think there's been about 3 or 4 international travelers that have done the whole thing, but it's taken about I think a month or so at a time. So I'm not sure how many people will be committed enough to do the whole thing, but definitely choosing a few sections would be a great way to kind of get off the beaten path, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm showing all the photos for the trail right now, looking down on the coast with the inlets.
Yes.
And oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it just looks so amazing. What an amazing area to explore.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, and yeah, if you're into social distancing, it's perfect. There's not a lot of crowds happening out there, so it's a good way to just kind of get out and reconnect with the nature. So
Awesome. We have a comment from Wendy. Thanks for commenting, Wendy, from Facebook.
hi, Wendy.
She says she's trying to resist the urge to pack up right now
Ah!
and go. But winter break
Yeah,
is only
please
2 weeks
come.
away. Thanks for all these ideas. We have been in Japan for 4
Yeah,
years
go away.
and never visited, or to be honest, even knew what treasures were right up the road. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, no, so close, so close, so easy to get to. So definitely, I think particularly for people that have kind of already, traveled around the kind of golden route, I suppose, of Japan, Tohoku is a great place to kind of, really get a more local, kind of a deeper experience of Japan for sure. So
Yeah.
definitely recommend it.
Slower, more meaningful
Slower
travel.
travel.
Yeah. That's
Definitely
sustainable travel, but it's also what makes sense now as we go into
Yes,
post-corona travel,
for
right?
sure.
Or living
I
with
think so.
corona
Yep.
travel, I should say.
Yes. Travel, COVID normal travel,
COVID
whatever that
normal.
is.
Is that what it's called? Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know.
showing your collage now with all the red torii gates that take you to the coast or to a mountain path. Once again, we can
Yes.
see, looks like samurai festival on horseback.
Yeah, so I think this is actually a screenshot that I took from Robin Lewis's page about the Michinoku Coastal Trail. Thank you, Robin. That kind of documented, I think, his experience as he kind of walked along the trail. And yeah, he's got a great website that kind of introduces a lot of the different highlights along the way. And I think he really found just the opportunity to kind of meet and speak with the local people really a highlight of the experience as well. So definitely encourage you to look up his experience.
Is that on the Maimizu information? Is that on Maimizu or
no,
different?
so he also has a site, I think, called Explore Tohoku.
Okay.
I think there's a Facebook page and a website, and that kind of documents his experience as he walked along the trail. So
I'll have to get him on again. We've had him on talking about Maimizu, and I knew that he was traveling
yes,
in
that's right.
Tohoku. I didn't realize he's got his own website. We'll have to explore that.
Yeah, I think he was one of the first people to walk the entire trail. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, pretty amazing experience.
That is, yeah. And bragging rights, I think.
Yeah. There's also a
Let's
really good Facebook community as well. I was just going to mention, if there is anyone that's interested in walking the trail, I think if you search just Michinoku Coastal Trail, the group should come up on Facebook, and it's kind of where a lot of people that have already walked or are planning to walk kind of exchange information and tips. So definitely check that out if you're interested.
Yeah, definitely. A bit too cold during winter, you think autumn, spring, summer
Ambitious,
might
I
be
think. I think probably early spring would be beautiful, around May, and definitely around sort of autumn time, September, October would be a great time to walk for sure.
Yeah, in the series we talked to Angela Ortiz and her boyfriend Nicholas, and they just did a cycle tour, and it looked like it's getting pretty cold to be outdoors doing activities. Although they had a great time and great community connection. But yeah, I think maybe for me, I grew up in Hawaii, so I might avoid the winter unless it's to see the snow monsters, and we're gonna we're gonna see that coming up.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Coming from
Yeah.
Australia, winter's always a bit of a struggle, but it's the winter sports kind of makes up for it. So
yeah. If you can go out and just see the beauty or do something active and come back in the warm, I'm into that.
exactly.
Yeah, I can do that.
Good. Yeah. For sure.
Let's talk about the Matsushima area. Oku Matsushima, I'm showing. Beautiful.
Yeah, so this is our immediate area. So this is just about a 30-minute train ride from Sendai City, which is where I currently am. And yeah, the beautiful Matsushima Bay, it's probably one of the more well-known areas of Tohoku. A lot of people kind of tend to come and visit and take sort of a sightseeing boat around the islands. There's about 270 islands kind of floating in this one bay, and it's incredibly beautiful. But from our perspective, we kind of like to take people a little bit further off the touristy part of Matsushima to what's called Oku Matsushima, which is deep Matsushima, or a little bit further east. And here you can actually kind of get on a boat with a local oyster farmer, and he'll take you out to the oyster farms to try some of his delicious oysters straight from the water, or you can actually get out onto some of the larger islands that are still inhabited and walk around and kind of experience the local lifestyle there. So it's a bit more of an up close and personal experience with Matsushima. So the whole area is just great for local seafood. So perfect for foodies if you're into tuna and oysters and sake.
I know a lot of people enjoy going to the fish market in Tokyo, but you've got that similar kind of experience, but a more local level. It looks really interesting.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I think Shiogama Fish Market, which is just next to Matsushima, actually has the largest catch of fresh tuna in all of Japan, which I don't think a lot of people know about. So a lot of the tuna and the fish that you actually see in the markets in Tokyo has actually been already through the markets up here the day before. So extra fresh, extra cheap, delicious seafood, definitely.
And then the oysters, and I'm really happy to see that the oysters you have in the pictures, they're not using too much plastic tubing.
Not at
We
all, no.
find a lot of the plastic tubing from Hiroshima oysters down here when we do beach cleanups, but it's so great to see that they're using ropes but not the plastic tubes. Yay!
Yes, yeah, they use ropes and they use just the hotate shells as well. So there's absolutely no plastic used at all. And the whole oyster farming experience is really it's really quite fascinating. They the farmers themselves actually spend a lot of time looking after the local kind of the forest areas as well, because obviously there's a pretty strong connection between having a healthy forest for creating the nutrients that are needed to grow the healthy oysters. So they're all very environmentally conscious and wonderful people. And the whole sort of Higashi Matsushima area is actually being kind of a point of focus for the SDGs as well as one of the communities that's really doing a lot to protect the environment while they, obviously support their local fishing industry. So.
That's awesome. It's great to see that kind of forward thinking. Think about the future, what's best for locals, what's best for visitors, what's best for the environment all together, and making it a part of your business plan is so wonderful. Yay!
Yes. Doing our best.
That's great. It reminds me of the area, was it Oshita, where Carolyn Pover was talking about in her book?
Yes, yeah.
And
so
she
that's
was
actually just on the coast.
Yeah, she was talking about how the area was completely devastated, but the locals didn't want to move away. In fact, they were very used to dealing with tsunamis. When they saw the waves changing, the fishermen went further out to sea. When they saw what might be a tsunami or heard about it, everybody went up higher. It was one of the least loss of life places, even though all the buildings were destroyed. So, people living off the sea, this goes back generations, part of their heritage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
for
really
sure.
interesting.
I think Japan as a whole, but Tohoku in particular, I think just has this incredible history of kind of not only relying on the local nature to kind of sustain their lifestyle, but also kind of having this series of natural disasters. So they've got a real reverence, I think, towards nature, and they're an incredibly resilient people. So it's really fascinating. I think we can learn a lot from kind of their attitude and I guess respect for nature, for sure.
Yeah. And it looks like with all the seafood, if you're a seafood lover or foodie of any kind, you would really enjoy.
Yes.
Any chance of a plant-based vegan surviving up there?
Well, actually, yes. It's getting a lot better. So we're actually working with quite a lot of the local communities to kind of create a few more vegan and vegetarian options. I think one area which is particularly good at this is in Yamagata in the Tsuruoka area. They're kind of a real gastronomic city, but they have a lot of beautiful shojin ryori and great sort of indigenous vegetables that they make sort of delicious vegan options with. There's a few ryokans that do vegan kaiseki options. It's definitely getting better. There's a lot to enjoy. So
yeah, that's great.
Not all about the fishing.
Yeah, well, that's when I do tourism consulting. Of course, a lot of businesses and destinations and people making tours, they're always talking about, oh, we have the Wagyu beef, we have the great seafood. And I always suggest have at least one plant-based option, because quite often, even in a group, you'll have most of
Yes.
the people want to eat the seafood, want to eat the beef, but you'll have one or two people who are plant-based and they're traveling together.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
having that, option to have plant-based, something
Mm.
everybody could eat, it's not a bad business strategy, right?
Not at all, and it's so it's not really difficult. I think a lot of people when they first kind of hear about veganism and vegetarianism, they're like, oh, we can't deal with that. Like we don't know what's going on, but it's quite easy to make a few small changes, and there's still some great delicious local options that can be provided for people that have different dietary needs as well. So yeah, we
Absolutely.
like to make sure everyone can still enjoy the local cuisine
Plus the
regardless.
numbers. You can't argue with the numbers. It's 10%
No, for
of the
sure.
inbound travelers about.
Hmm.
So if you're talking about 30 million people coming, is that 10%? My math is not great, but I think that's a lot of people.
Something like that. It's a lot of people. Yep.
That's a
And I
lot of
think
people
I've
who
been
don't want to eat the fish and
yeah,
meat. So you got to have something.
exactly.
I'm always
Exactly.
so
Yeah, it's kind of
sad if
that
I
balance.
meet people who only eat at convenience stores or only eat at
I know,
supermarkets
it's such
because
a shame.
it's too
No.
difficult when they go to the restaurant and there's nothing
Yeah,
for them or there's nothing for their partner, even though they would eat it. So we got to have
yeah,
more flexibility, I think.
definitely. Yeah, it's certainly improving, I think. Yeah, there's a lot more awareness about it now, so hopefully moving forward there'll be much more opportunities for people to have the same full yeah foodie experience as well. So,
And it's better for income too for local areas.
yeah,
Let's talk about
definitely.
the Yamagata Dewasan. Looks amazing, like hiking trails,
Yes, so
pilgrimage as well.
exactly. Yep. So this is one of my all-time favorite spots in all of Tohoku. So this is the Dewa Sanzan, the three holy mountains of Dewa. And it's for thousands of years, it's kind of been one of the main centers for the ascetic practices of Shungendo, so mountain worship. And yeah, you can go and take a pilgrimage across the three mountains. So there's Mount Haguro, Mount Gasan, and Mount Yudono. And each mountain respectively represents, I think, the realm of the present, death and the afterlife, and then rebirth. So kind of a journey across all three mountains is a spiritual journey of rebirth. And yeah, you can either kind of hike on your own, or you can have the full experience and actually join one of the Yamabushi, the mountain priests, stay overnight at their sort of pilgrim lodging and participate in some of their practices. So if you're extra brave, you can experience sort of meditation under a waterfall in the middle of the mountains, or yeah, just kind of hike with them to the different spiritual points, and maybe dine on some Shojin Ryori cuisine, the sort of traditional vegetarian cuisine of the mountains. And it's just a wonderful place to kind of literally get away from the city and switch off your phone and just kind of really reconnect with nature. So
Yeah,
probably a
wonderful.
good one for the post 2020 travelers,
Hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
Bit of spiritual
You
rejuvenation.
you compared it earlier to the Kumano
Hmm.
Kodo Trail. So,
Yes, yeah. So a lot of people that have already travelled the Kumano Kodo often come up to the Dewasanzan as their kind of second port of call. But it's it's quite, I guess, similar in some aspects. But yeah, it's a great, I don't know. So I think it's a really great starting point for a trip around Japan, because you kind of get a real appreciation, as I mentioned before, for that kind of relationship with nature that I think kind of sits as a base for a lot of Japanese culture, Japanese tradition. So
mhm.
yeah, highly recommend as a maybe one of your first stops in Tohoku,
And
and
how
also
long
really
would you
accessible again
recommend?
from
Like about
Tokyo.
a week, if you have a week, or at least 4 days,
A
you
week would be
think?
amazing. Yeah, I think if you're going to do the full pilgrimage, I think a week is a good idea to kind of space it out. But yeah, anywhere from, I mean, if you are only in the area for a couple of days, maybe just sticking to one of the mountains and coming back and doing the other two another time. But yeah, anywhere between 3 days and a week would be a great amount of time, I think.
Yeah. And I don't think I showed the snow monsters yet. Tell us about
Ah,
Zao.
yes. Yeah, so they're also in Yamagata. So Yamagata Zao. And I think there's another place up in Aomori as well that has a similar phenomenon. So it's basically a sort of a forest at the top of the mountain, and it gets hit by a particular wind from Siberia, I think. So the trees kind of get frozen in these really crazy shapes that resemble monsters. So affectionately known as the snow monsters. And yeah, you can come and ski or snowshoe in between the monsters. Yeah, it's a great place to come. I think a lot of people kind of have, Niseko and Hakuba as their ports of call for skiing in Japan, but they don't really know that in between these 2 points, Tohoku's got some fantastic ski options, really good powder snow, really wide runs, less people, and then yeah, you've got this beautiful, unique kind of natural scenery to go with it as well. So I think particularly this year there'll be less and less people on the slopes. So if you've got any ski snow bunnies down in Tokyo that want to try somewhere new, then maybe Yamagata Dewasan is a good option for them.
Yeah, I went a few years ago with my kids to
Mm-hmm.
Niseko, and they had all
Ah,
this
yes, great.
amazing lodging, like really comfortable Western style
Mm-hmm.
lodging run by Australians. They
Yes,
have a
yeah.
really popular scene over there. So you think the Zao area might be able to rival in terms of snow quality or cost of the lifts and
So
local experience?
yeah, definitely in terms of cost efficiency, it's a lot cheaper. The snow's fantastic, and I think one thing that kind of separates a lot of these ski fields in Tohoku from the other sort of larger resorts like Niseko is that they're so kind of local, so it's really easy to kind of, spend a day on the slopes, but then the next day kind of experience the town, and the more cultural experiences are much closer to the ski fields as well. So it's a real kind of like compact area where you can kind of experience more than just the snow. Yeah, you can get a more holistic experience, I guess. And yeah, the powder is top notch. So
Yeah, and you don't have to fly there, right? Like you could take a
no,
train up from Tokyo, pretty easy.
yes, yeah, trains as well from if not Tokyo, from Sendai, where I'm currently based. There's a lot of sort of buses and trains that will shuttle you off to various ski slopes. So super accessible.
How is it
Great
taking
option to it.
snowboards or skis on trains? There's been a lot of talk recently about how difficult it is taking your bicycle, even in a bag on a train.
Oh,
And
okay.
the Shinkansen system is limiting the amount of baggage that you can take.
True.
I wonder how
Yeah.
that's going to affect the winter season because these are kind of new regulations, right?
Yeah, so I think yeah, the Shinkansen's a bit of a tricky one because there's not a lot of room even for suitcases, let alone boards and skis and things like that. So I think a lot of people tend to take advantage of the sort of Takubin courier service. So a lot of the ski resorts have a desk within the resort itself where you can just directly send all of your gear ahead. And I think that's probably the easiest way to deal with it. Usually it arrives kind of within a day or two, so you don't need to be too organized too far in advance. That's probably, the easiest solution, I think.
Yeah, great. And you sent me some beautiful photos of autumn right now. And
Yes.
looks like a great time of year. Is it past? Have we just missed it? Or is it
Yeah,
still
yeah.
beautiful?
Sadly, that was kind of one thing I wanted to mention was that both the sort of the cherry blossom season and the autumn color seasons, obviously because we're a little bit further north in sort of Tokyo and Kansai area, our peaks tend to be either, a couple of weeks earlier or later. So it's a good way to kind of A, avoid the crazy crowds, and B, if you've missed out on the cherry blossoms in Tokyo, you can pop up on the Shinkansen for an hour and a half and still see them in full bloom in Sendai a week later. And with the autumn colors, it tends to be a bit earlier, obviously. So we've just passed our peak, unfortunately. But yeah, usually if you head up kind of late October, early November is probably the best time to see the peak autumn colors.
And I know a lot of people are hoping that they can travel in spring and the coronavirus will
Yes,
have calmed down by then. So,
fingers
spring,
crossed.
about when, what month, or what time of year can people start to see the cherry blossoms, do you think?
It's kind of progressive. Obviously, it's quite a wide area, but anywhere kind of from, I guess, yeah, sort of mid to late April to almost mid-May, depending on how far north you go. So there's, yeah, about a month block there where you can find something in bloom. So yeah, it's a pretty good opportunity. I think particularly in the north, we've got Hirosaki Castle is a lesser known spot for cherry blossom blooming, but it's incredible. There's about 3,000 cherry trees in this castle park, and yeah, it's just beautiful. And I think about a week after they peak, obviously all the petals drop and the moats kind of turn into these beautiful pink carpeted moats of beauty. So definitely a good one to add to the list.
Yeah, looks beautiful. And you guys had arranged like a beautiful high quality cuisine hanami
Yes,
party.
our fancy Hanami party. Yeah, this is actually in Shiogama, so close to Matsushima, that I was just talking about earlier. So we can actually organize a private Hanami party in the grounds of Shiogama Shrine. And we work with one of our local restaurants, Otokoyama, and Chef Sato will actually come and kind of be your private chef for the afternoon. And he's kind of created this beautiful Hanami themed bento and lunch kind of course, which is using all of kind of the local seafood, local ingredients, and paired, of course, with the delicious local sake. And you can enjoy a wonderful live performance from one of our musicians, our shamisen musicians as well. So it's a bit of a fancy Hanami experience, but definitely worth it, I think.
Yeah, looks amazing.
Yeah.
So if people are planning to come up for Hanami, you said April. Maybe April would be a good time.
Yeah, April. Yeah, mid-April, mid to late April is probably the best time for us. Yeah.
Great.
Changing every year. It's kind of hard to keep track, but yeah.
But it's the one thing that you can usually find good information about. There's usually a weather tracker, the Hanami tracker for Japan. It'll tell you exactly. Yes. But if you plan your trip for about April, you probably be in luck, right?
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about your company, the Outbound Sendai Matsushima company. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned a little bit earlier, our kind of central focus is that kind of coastal part of Miyagi Prefecture. So we're kind of in charge of the sort of, I guess, tourism management of 6 different cities and towns in that immediate area. So that tends to be the focus of our activities. But at the same time, we also acknowledge that, you know, people need to have more information and more access to the attractions in Tohoku region as a whole. So we also run a sort of local tour operation service called Tohoku Local Secret Tours, and that kind of caters for across the whole Tohoku region. So just really working closely with local businesses and local key people to kind of make some great experience programs and try and make the attractions of Tohoku more accessible for international tourists.
Yeah, looks great. So I'm showing your Tohoku Local Secret Tours page right now. So Tohoku-local-secret-tours.jp.
It's a mouthful. Yeah.
But you can link there from the Outbound website, which is a little bit easier, right?
It's fine. They're both pretty ridiculous names to be honest with you, but that's all right.
That's all right. And we'll link them below as well. Nicholas, who was just there on a cycling trip in Tohoku. Thanks for joining, Nicholas. Right. He says, "Wow, that looks amazing." And thanks for the shout out earlier. Yeah, of course, you guys did that great cycling trip for sure.
Yeah, it would be a great way to explore the area if you're fit enough to cross the mountains there.
Nicholas and Angela are so fit. I was watching it in awe of all the climbing they did. There was a lot of climbing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So we have a few more minutes. Can you talk a little bit about how your business is transitioning during coronavirus? Are you doing more things online? Are you trying to prepare destinations for tourism once it starts back? What kinds of stuff are you doing right now?
Yeah, so we're kind of doing a combination of all of the above, really. So, yeah, it's been, difficult not being in a position to kind of welcome our usual international tourists to the area. But it's kind of been a really good chance in a way to kind of, I guess, yeah, create a lot more content and really establish our connections in the immediate area. So we've been kind of working with a few more local businesses to create new content, and also have been experimenting a little bit with online experiences as well. So I think this month now, December, we'll be offering a couple of online experiences with JTV in Australia, doing sort of walking tours and tea experiences, things like that in Shiogama, just to kind of keep the interest and information flowing, I guess, before hopefully, yeah, international tourism opens up again next year. And we've also been kind of working to create some educational trips as well for domestic travel. So for some of the local Japanese schools here as well.
Great. And it looks like you have a fantastic team. Can you tell us about the other members of your team?
So we're only a small team. So I think on the website there's about 7 of us up there. We've actually grown. We've got 2 new members just this month. So about 9 of us now. And yeah, we're kind of separated into smaller teams. So my immediate team's the sort of tour product development team. I work with 2 others who not only kind of work with us to create the programs, but also guide as well. So kind of doing a bit of, not just creating the tours, but also promoting and actually welcoming the people as they arrive on the ground. So yeah, a bit of multitasking involved, but it's a great little team. We're doing our best.
That's great. If you have some advice right now for businesses or destinations who are related to tourism, but of course struggling right now, would you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I think just keeping the information flowing is a really important point, trying to keep the momentum going before travel opens up again. But particularly, I think this is a great opportunity to really connect with domestic tourists and particularly sort of international residents, I think, in other parts of Japan. I think there's some great travel opportunities coming up. We've got the JR Pass for this northern part of Japan as well. It's making travel a lot cheaper to the Tohoku region. So I think, just kind of targeting sort of more groups a bit closer to home, I think, for now, and trying to encourage tourism in that way before we can welcome our international guests back, hopefully next year.
That's great. And any final projects for you? Like, what are your aims for this coming next year? What do you hope to see happen in Tohoku or with tourism in that area?
In that area, I think just getting as many people as possible here to not only, I guess, know about the Tohoku region, but to come and experience it for themselves. So I think it's quite a hopeful time, I think, for Tohoku in many ways. I think there will be a lot more interest, I think, in these kind of more off the beaten path areas of Japan. So hoping to really kind of jump on that and creating more opportunities for people to come and visit. And not only, I think, for tourism, but I'd love to try and create a few more opportunities for exchange and maybe for people actually to come and live in the Tohoku region. I think it's a great place not only to travel but to live. It's fantastic. So creating more jobs and opportunities for international people here in Tohoku would be great. It's on my list, I think, for the future. So
well, thank you so much for all you do, because what you're doing with tourism is not just for international travelers, but you're helping to create a brand for the area, which brings in other future residents, not only international residents, but it also has an effect on bringing Japanese residents back to the area. There's a phenomenon we often see in tourism or in anything with business in Japan, is when there is outside interest, it always brings domestic interest as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So you're doing a fantastic job up there. Thank you so much.
No, please come and visit.
Yeah, I'd love to. Like Wendy said, I'm trying really hard not to pack my bags and come up right now.
Yeah, do it, do it, do it. Don't wait.
So yeah,
Alright.
if people want to find out more about Tohoku,
Mhm.
definitely follow
Sendai
inoutbound.co.jp.
Matsushima.
Yeah, but
Yep.
we will put the link below. I can't remember it right now.
That's okay,
And
no worries.
and also Jess, you are on
Yes.
Instagram and you guys are also on Facebook.
Yes. Yep. Yes, we'll hopefully be a little bit more active in the next coming weeks. So please, yeah, feel free to follow us on our socials and sing out if you need
Wonderful.
any advice or information about travel in Tohoku. We're always happy to provide whatever we can. So
Wonderful. One thing I would suggest is you make your links to the socials a little bit easier on the website because I couldn't
yeah,
actually find your social
got
links.
to kind of search a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we have a website improvement coming, so fingers crossed that will
Yeah, yeah, don't worry.
help a little bit.
It's all there's so much to do, but this is a great time for
Yep,
planning and preparation. So, yeah.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you
No
so
worries.
much, Jess. Thank you, everybody, for
All right. Thank you so
joining
much for
today.
having me.
Yeah, it's been wonderful.
Thank
Maybe we
you.
can reconnect in 6 months' time. You can tell us more about what your situation is next year
Yeah.
as things change, because I know things are
Yeah.
changing so
Great.
much right now, right?
So quickly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Hopefully, we'll be in a much more positive space, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for joining, everyone. And tomorrow morning, we will be talking to uh, Byron Nagy, who also works for Earth Embassy and also remodels old homes and builds new homes more sustainably, more efficient. So please join us tomorrow, 9 a.m. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.